Hi friends, it's Kayla Moran and welcome back to the Let's Get Candid podcast. Happy Thursday, good morning, whatever time or day you're listening. I'm so excited to be back with you guys and I can't believe this is our 10th episode. I'm so excited that you guys are loving the podcast and that I get to keep making these episodes for you guys because it's really, really fun and fulfilling for me. And this episode was incredible and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. But before we jump in, because there's so much to talk about and this episode is going to be really, really long, but really fast, I want to do my suck and sweet of the week. So my sweet of the week is that Napa was amazing. 10 out of 10 recommend. You have to go visit and check out my guide on my blog linked in the show notes if you want to plan your trip or are thinking of planning a trip to Napa. But just there's so much to see and eat and drink and enjoy, and I wish I had longer, but I'll definitely be back, and I'll definitely be back multiple times because there's just so many amazing vineyards to check out and we had the best time. So my suck of the week is that I'm back and that we aren't there forever because it was awesome and that I was very, very jet lagged on Monday, but really just that I had a cold right before leaving on our trip because the temperature changed in Knoxville and it just got really, really cold and I wasn't dressed properly to head to school a few mornings and I got a little bit of a cold, but thankfully it was all good halfway through our trip, I was all good to go. So yeah, that was my suck of the week. But anyway, without further ado, meet Amina. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Kayla. I'm good. And you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to chat with you today. For those of you who don't know, this is Amina, and we met at the Tiki's event at Miami Swim Week. So we just became friends and IG friends. And I think that's such a cool way to meet people. Have you met a lot of people through IG, like a lot of IG friends as an adult?
Um, Actually, only at these kind of events. So I think last year I made one friend, and then this year I made you, and it was the same exact event, which was kind of cool because we have that same friend in common.
Yeah, I've heard that people meet a lot at Tiki's events, which I think is really cool that brands do those events. And I think it's a cool way to meet people and, get cute content. But I love that you, like me, are also in grad school and you kind of share a little bit about that. And you were a Dolphins cheerleader. And I want to talk a little bit about that too. So tell me about yourself. Tell me about where you grew up, where you're from, like what you did growing up and what you do now.
Great. Yeah. So originally I'm from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. So I was born there. I moved here when I was 9. Um, and when I moved here, it was kind of funny because I didn't know I was moving here. I thought I was coming for vacation, and my sister was going to college at the time, and she was 17 and not yet 18. So it was just a regular summer, and then we just decided, hey, like we're actually gonna stay here because your sister's not 18 yet. So the transition was kind of, every transition from a new country is always kind of tough. But I was only 9, so I was able to take some classes with other kids that didn't know English and then learn English. And from there, I, did elementary, middle school, high school in Miami. And then I did college in Miami, and now I'm doing grad school in Miami. So I consider myself a Miami native as well, just because I've been here for so long. Um, and dance has always been like my constant thing through all of this, all these transitions. So I danced when I was in Haiti, and then I danced again when I was here in middle school and high school. In high school, I was part of the cheer team. And then when I became a college student, I was like, you know what, let me try out for the college dance team. And I was on the team for 2 years. And then eventually I went pro and danced with the Miami Dolphins for 2 years. So yeah, that's pretty much, I feel like you asked me my story and it's all about dance, just because dancing is just such a big part of my life.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I grew up as a dancer in the Miami world too, and it is such a big part of our lives, like every day, day in and day out, on weekends and competitions and recitals, and it is a part of our lives. And I never,
Which
wanted to go pro, but I know a lot of girls do. So I wanted to talk about that. I went to Focal Point. What studio did you go to?
No way. I went to Focal Point my last 2 years of high school.
Funny. I went to, I think, how old are you?
I am 25.
Oh, so we're actually around the same time because I'm 23. I went my freshman and sophomore year of high school, and then I stopped going to a studio because I was dancing at Reef in high school. So I stopped going my junior and senior year. But so we know like some of the same people from Focal Point. That's so funny. I love Amanda and Focal Point. I missed it.
Yes, I loved her. I loved her a lot. I can't even remember the teachers now, but
I mean, a lot changed, but just she's amazing in that studio. I miss dancing so much, and I love that dance is like such a big part of your story, and like you're constant. I love that it's your constant. And growing up in the dance world, like how much of, which I know the answer because growing up too, but like how much of dance really shaped you who you are today? Like what does that mean to you, like growing up as a dancer?
I think dance really gave me that kind of like constant idea that I need to be better. I think when you're a dancer, you're constantly being in a room where you think you're amazing, and then you walk into a room and you see someone who's better. So you kind of learn really young that like you have to keep adapting and changing who you are, and like mending your skills so that you can always be on top of who you want to be. It definitely gave me discipline. It kind of tested my confidence in a lot of ways. You just you're the best, and then you walk in and you don't get the answer that you thought you were going to get from the person who's auditioning you. So it's a really tough world in a sense that you always feel like they're picking on you and tearing you apart, but it's so rewarding because then you become confident from within, and you are able to like work on that, and you know that, hey, I'm me. I don't need to be anybody else. I know what I bring. And you become that superstar to yourself, and then everybody's able to see that. So it definitely made me very disciplined, very sharp, very confident in myself and my ways, and always like looking forward to be better than I was yesterday, basically. Sounds very cliche, but
So
yeah.
true. I agree with all of that because I actually want to write a blog post about what you learned like growing up as a dancer, and because TikTok a few weeks ago I saw that this dad posted like, I don't pay for my daughter to go to dance, like I pay for her to be disciplined and learn and grow confident and like learn all these skills. And it's so true, like it's so much more than just dancing, but it's so much fun too, and it's a great workout, and you're making friends, but you're learning a lot about yourself. And I love that, to be better tomorrow than you are today. Like it's so true. You're always looking to be better, not to compare yourself, not that you're comparing yourself, but to be better for yourself and better, like a better version of yourself. So I love that. And you said you were a dancer on the dance team in college. You went to FIU, you were a dazzler. What are those tryouts like? What is it like going from dancing in high school at a dance studio? Yeah, you're dancing competitively, to cheering at football games and being a FIU dazzler or a Dolphins cheerleader later on. Like, what's that really like?
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So it's like it's two different things, definitely. Like, I feel like studios, like dancing at a studio was very much like, you learn a routine and then you perfect it for a couple of months, and then you put on a show and you compete. Versus and it was more of a team. I feel like when you were there, it was more team building. Like you were all working on one routine and being a team member. And then when you audition for like a professional or for college, you're on your own. So you walk into that audition, you get your own number. You have to dress the part, show off with first your appearance, your costume, make sure you stand out from everybody else. And then they go ahead and teach you a routine. And then you go to different trials. Like maybe the first round, they make cuts, second round, they make cuts. And then finally the third round, they pick the team. So for my experience for the FIU Dazzlers, it was pretty much that way. So you kind of felt like you were really on your own for that audition process. You walk in the room, you hope that you make a good impression, you learn a routine and you try to nail it down by the end of the audition and hopefully get chosen. It was pretty much kind of the same for both college and professional.
Yeah.
So definitely it's different. And then the dance style is different too. When I was on the Dazzlers, like it was very much, it was, I don't know if you know this dance style, like palm, which I was not familiar with at all.
Yeah, me either.
So I was like, what are they talking about? So they were very like sharp and very like, you know, moving in sync, but with pom-poms and all of that. And I was like, wait, like
that's not what you grew up doing. Yeah, it's different.
Right? I'm like, what is going on here? So like, I think because I had a cheer background as well, because in high school I wasn't on the dance team, I was on the cheer team. I think that kind of gave me an advantage because I've seen a lot of girls that come from studios try out for these kind of teams like cheer, like Miami Dolphins cheer, and they think, is it cheerleading? And it's because it's kind of like a fusion of both what you do in a normal dance class and what you do as a cheerleader, which is the palm like aspect of it, which is being very stiff, which is completely opposite of what you learn in a studio, like sharp and stiff and all of that. So I think that kind of really helped me there.
Yeah, I don't think I never did dance team because I didn't like the like cheer palm style. And now looking back, I wish I would have done dance team in high school and dance team at UCF. Although I hated their uniforms, they were ugly. At least FIU was uniforms. I hated UCF, and the main reason I didn't do it was because of that, which is so stupid. But looking back,
now I have to go search the uniform.
They're so ugly. But now I wish I would have done it. Like I didn't like the palm style. I didn't like that because it's not what we're used to growing up. I love like the fluidity and the movement and like the music aspect of dance and like expressing yourself. And I couldn't get into it, but it's fun to watch. And I definitely wish I would have given it a shot. But so what's it really like being like a student athlete, a dazzler? Like what does a day in the life look like balancing classes and going to away games and, you know, being at games, and what's it really like to be a dazzler?
To be honest, it was really tough. Like now that I look back at it, because now that I'm a completely like non, you know, activities grad student and I'm only focused on school, and I look at how I was doing when I was in college, I'm just like, wow, like it was just like so much at the same time that I didn't even realize how much I was doing till I'm not doing it. So my day-to-day would be like, okay, I have class from maybe 11 till 3, and then I have a gap. And then during my gap, I would always either go to the gym or go to a quiet place and kind of practice my routines. Because the way they would do it in college, which is how they did it actually pro as well, is they'll teach you a routine on, so we would have practices Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They'll teach you a routine on Tuesday. Wednesday, they do auditions. So you have that whole routine down, the audition for you to be part of it or not. Thursday, they clean it. And then the game is on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you better have it, you know? So I would go to school Monday, you know, have a gap, build on the routine, and then go to practice after school, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So that was pretty much what my day-to-day would be like. And then when the weekends would come around, sometimes my friends would be going to tailgates, having fun. And I was like, no, I had to like go home, like go sleep early, wake up, go to the game, not tailgate like everybody else, because I'm in the game, and perform, you know? So it was pretty much, it was really tough. And I was always, you know, working out and doing all of that. But I think the nice aspect of it was me and the girls we have like a bond now because we spent so much time together, like the girls at FIU, that they're pretty much like sisters. And we were all in it together. So we had the same routine kind of thing. We knew like, hey, we're all going through this together. So I think that was like the positive, like the rewarding aspect of it. And we still hang out now too. So
yeah, that's cool. I love that too about dance. Like even girls from other studios that I would compete against, you know, in high school, you grew up together. You have the same experiences. It's a shared experience and it's a bond. And I like that you guys still hang out now. And so you were also in a sorority in college, but it seems like you were a lot more invested in the Dazzlers and game day and like your team. How
Mhm.
is that? Like, when did you become a Dolphins cheerleader after you graduated or during college? Like, when did you transition to a Dolphins cheerleader?
So I actually was doing it while I was in college. I know it's crazy. I was doing so many things, and you picked up on the sorority thing, and to me, I almost always forget that I was in it because I joined it and I was in it for maybe a year almost, and then I auditioned to be a Dolphins cheerleader my junior year, like towards because the auditions usually happen in May or April. So I was there for maybe like 6 months in the sorority, and then I became a Dolphins cheerleader my last 2 years. And so college was more manageable in terms of like school because they know you're a student athlete. They work around your schedule. They know you have school. Like you don't go. We actually didn't go to away games. We only did home games because the away games was the other cheerleaders that were there. So that's kind of how it worked. Um, but for the Miami Dolphins, like, sometimes they would ask you like, hey, you're going on a military tour for this weekend and this, like, for this week, are you available? And when they ask you to be part of a military tour, they don't ask the whole team. They ask maybe like 6 girls that they think would be best for that shot, like that gig, basically. And the last thing you want to do is turn it down. So, and it was always random. So once I became a Dolphins cheerleader, it was almost like that was my priority. It was a job. It was like, this is my main focus, and I had to manage everything around it. So I mean, a lot of other aspects in my life really suffered in that time, like my relationships, school, my sorority. Like I had to just put everything in the back burner just because I knew this was a one-time shot thing. Like this is something that you only do for maybe 1 or 2 years. The amount of times that you actually make the team, because you have to audition every year, and it's not forever. You only do it when you're young. You get one shot, kind of thing. So that's kind of what they would tell us too. Like, you're gonna look back at this and be like, wow, I did this, but you need to give it your all now. So I had to take all my classes online for those 2 years. I graduated in 5 years instead of 4 because I was taking only 3 classes, just because I knew I wasn't going to be able to manage all that time between cheer and school. So, I mean, that created a lot of tension for me, especially because I come from a family who's very education oriented, and they didn't like really the aspect of that this was taking over for me, like that this was becoming my focal point versus everything else that they've kind of built me on. So that was like the biggest issue that was going on in the back of my mind. Like, this is great, I love it, they're happy that I'm doing it, but school, like taking 5 years, like that was like the part that didn't like. I'm getting personal here, but
I love that we are talking about this because it's the realities of it. Like I'm glad that, I didn't even have to like ask, that it just came up naturally, because I totally see, like, I see both sides. I'm Hispanic, and my family is also, very education oriented. They're very driven minority families, immigrant families are they press the education a lot. So, I definitely, I can see where they're coming from, but if you love it, and that's, and you did love it. I see it now, like you still like post like flashbacks and like reflections on it. And with everything that the stress and the tension that it, like, you were going through, like, it seemed like it was such an amazing opportunity for you. Like, talk more about that opportunity, what it was really like being a Dolphins cheerleader, like the tryout process, the, getting to be a part of these military tours and like these community events. Cause I love that the Dolphins and the Heat dancers, they really get to be a part of the community like that. Like, that part's really special. So what is it really like to be a Dolphins cheerleader? Like, how do you become one? What's it really like?
pretty much it's easy for you to audition for it. So, you kind of just like, walk into the audition. You don't actually have to pay for anything. You just come in. There is like maybe 2 days. So the first day you learn the routine, and then you audition for that part, and then you make that cut. Actually, there's 1 day. And then once there's probably like 2 or 3 different parts of that first day, 3 different parts of like cutting and learning and cutting. When I say cutting, like cut girls and keep girls. At the end of that day, they pick the amount of girls. And then you go through a boot camp week. So the boot camp week is like super intense. And that's when you kind of see what you're really getting into. From my experience, like I thought this was just like another college tryout where, by the end of that first day, they pick the team. But then no, you get there and you're like, okay, you got all of you guys are in, but you're not in the team on the team. You're part of the boot camp for that just specific week. And I'm like, okay. So you get into the boot camp process, and it's basically much like they make like a big production out of the audition. So like you learn, they spread you out into different like groups. You learn different like routines. So each different like section has their own routine that they're going to showcase during the audition, the final audition. And it's funny because then they put you into groups of people that look like you, or that are the same type of you, like skin color, hair. And the reason why they do that, which is insane that you think about like how they would think about it, is, if Kayla looks like this, and then there's this girl who looks like this, let's see who looks better doing it. So then that makes it even more intense, because then you start kind of like, I remember there was a girl that we were like, they put us next to each other for everything, and we started like having a bond next to each other. And then I remember like there's another older girl who was there the year before, and she was being like super mean to us, like, she was in her group, but she wasn't like being super friendly, and we're like, what is her deal? And then we found that
you're taking her spot, or you're going for the same spot. Yeah,
exactly. We were like, wait, why is she so mad? And then we realized that we were just competing for the same spot. And then, I mean, for me, me and my friend are still close till now. And we used to call each other twins, but because we both made the team. But yeah, so then they put on this big production. And then at the end, you all just pretty much do this big show that comes together. And then at the end, they pick the team. But then still, you think, I'm on the team. No, they pick you to go to training camp, which is another 3 months of like just training. We had to wear all black, like black sports bra, black shorts. And then everybody else that's already been on the team, a veteran, gets to wear colors, so that they would kind of see how we, like, I guess so they can see who we are as like the new members, and then eventually make cuts from there. And they still made cuts up until like the very end of the training camp, when they were like, you're a Miami Dolphins cheerleader. It was an amazing experience, just because you had to work for it. I think that was the biggest thing, because had it been like, just a regular dance team where you just try out and you make it the first day, a lot of girls make it and then they leave because they feel like, okay, I made it. And then you don't really feel like any types of like I'm this, like I belong here, versus when it was like the work that you had to just to say you are one, you feel like I worked for this, like, like, what it means. And then you asked me about like the community service aspect of it and like the tours. So that part of it was just like, that was my favorite part of it. Because I didn't, honestly, like I said from the beginning, I thought this was just a regular dancing thing. And then I found out it had all these different aspects of it. So we would do a lot of appearances in the community. We would go to like supermarkets, and like maybe for that day, like a football player would come and then pick like 2 or 3 customers and let them know that you're shopping with the Dolphins and you can pick out anything you want today, and we got you covered. So it was super cute to see these families' faces when they saw the players and the cheerleaders helping them, like, and it was always, we would go to like different like income level places, sometimes it was like lower income. So that was super exciting for them. They had a few like Thanksgiving giveaways where they would give like turkeys. They did like Christmas trees, help the family hasn't been able to put up a Christmas tree, and like have a Dolphins player and a cheerleader come and put up a whole tree for them. And I was so passionate about it. I was actually the philanthropist for the like chair for the Miami Dolphin cheerleaders. So yeah.
I love, that's honestly one of my favorite parts of, the pro teams, and like that they do give back to the community. And like, I had never seen them out and about at grocery stores, although I knew that they did it, but like, I think that part is so special and it's so cool. And I'm a big philanthropist myself. I love philanthropy and I love giving back. And so I love that. And it makes me happy that was your favorite part, because I think I think also would be my favorite part. Cheering at games and being on the sidelines is so much fun, but I think there's so much more to it than that. And so seeing that, your biggest takeaway was the community service part is really special and really cool. So I wanted to transition a little bit to, so you left Dolphins cheer. How old were you? And you ended up going back to school. So how old were you? What did you do in between, or did you leave to go back to school? When did that transition to going to grad school come?
Okay, so I think I left when I was 21. I had just turned 21. No, 22. I just turned 22 that November, and then it was supposed to be the next year. It was going to be my third year. There was a lot of pressure because I knew I was going to essentially be potentially a captain. And everybody always asks me why, because when I was in it, I was, like I told you, I was like the philanthropist chair. I was, I don't want to, sound like I'm like cocky, but I was kicking butt, I was really, really like into it, and I was doing really well. And then all of a sudden, like my third year, what would have been like my highlight year, I didn't come back. And I never really talk about it, but I think the biggest thing that came in the way with that is, like I said earlier, was, and I know nobody likes to talk about this, but mental health.
So please talk about it. Please talk about it. Please talk about it. Love that. Glad we're going there. Please talk about it.
Okay, I have to get there because I feel like I'm getting comfortable and I can just open up to you about that. But I was going into my third year, and it was gonna be like my peak year. I was gonna be potentially a captain, potentially be like the leader. Your third year is when you're not a second year anymore. You're gonna be a third year. You're gonna be potentially one of the oldest veterans on the team, and it was gonna be that year for me. And all of a sudden, like, the audition came around where it was about to be the audition time, and literally a weekend before, I decided I don't want to try out, and everybody's like, what? I felt like I was losing part of me by not doing it. Like, I felt like Dolphins became my identity. Like, I didn't know who I was without being a Dolphins cheerleader.
That's a scary place to be, to realize that, you don't know who you are anymore. And now you need to go find who you are. So I can relate, but I'm glad that we're talking about this.
That's exactly what it was. It was like, I am Miami Dolphins cheerleader, Amina. My Instagram, because you were asking me earlier about like my social media and how I became such an influencer. It became mostly because of Dolphins. Because before I was who I am now, I was their MDC, Miami Dolphins Cheerleader, Amina, and my account was a representative of the brand, and I used to actually get monetized every week by posting things for them. So that's kind of how I built my following up to where it is now. That was part of the reason too. I'm like, so it was like, I'm MDC Amina. I don't know who I am without this. So it was such a tough decision for me to realize that I was, how much this was affecting my mental health. That's just the reality of it. Before games, I could not sleep. I would stay up to like 4 a.m, overthinking a routine in my head. I was, I didn't have the best eating schedule, and it wasn't even because of anything. I just was always so anxious. I think I'm a great performer, but put in these situations, I don't know, like me as a person though, as myself, it's just a lot for me. So I had to make a big decision to not come back. And I had to, I went to one day I just drove up to the Miami Dolphins stadium, met up with the director and just told her, hey, I'm not auditioning. I'm not coming back. And they were shocked. They were like, you just came from a trip. You went to Haiti. You cheered. You taught a dance camp. Like, what happened? And I was just like, I had to tell them. I was like, this is just, I have to choose me. I love your brand. I love what I'm doing, but I'm suffering as a human being. My person, me, Amina, is not able to do this right now.
Yeah, no, and I think I'm so happy for you that you took the step back and were able to say that. It takes guts, but it's scary when that realization, and then when you actually put it into practice and start making those changes, it's really scary because everyone is really confused, but it's so special too when you're able to realize this isn't serving me anymore. Even though I love it, even though it's so much fun, something's not making me happy anymore, and I need to go figure that out, what that is. And I think mostly I think women struggle with that a lot, even more so than men, and also women in our age group and this generation and with social media. But I think it's and I'm really like so happy we're talking about this. And that's why I didn't know this when I asked you to be on, but like, I'm glad we're talking about this because I think it's so important. And I hope, like whoever's listening, if this, like something similar is going on, that they, have the guts to make that change for themselves. That's so special. So yeah, so you realized that, then what came next when you said you weren't going to audition anymore? Like, what happened? Like, where did your life go from there?
So for the next year or so, it was hard. Because Kayla, when you make these decisions, it's such a hard decision that you just keep going back and forth. Like you think you made the right decision, but then one day you're like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, I'm not on the team. Like, so I kept having these like this whole like flashback. And I think it was because I wasn't doing what my calling was just yet. So I was just in that position. It was kind of like a pause, like a transition before the big next break. So for that year, it was really tough because I just kept thinking back and forth, what do I do? What do I do? And then finally, like, I was like, okay, I know what I want to do. I want to go to grad school. I want to be a boss. I want to be a female entrepreneur. I want to be that person. And I was like, I'm going to take all this energy that I have into becoming the best candidate that I can be for graduate school. And so for the next year and a half or two, I was studying for the GMAT. I was getting back to school. I finally graduated. I graduated that July. So I didn't audition in April. I graduated in July. And that pretty much, so school took back the highlight of whatever my life. And then I started like, kind of doing a few other things. Like I worked a little bit at a law firm, kind of like as a paralegal / marketing person. I taught for a little bit at a dance studio nearby. So I kind of just started doing things. I started going out again with my friends, like, having fun and like doing certain things that I wasn't able to do as much during that time. Like I was missing out on a lot of things because I turned 21 and I was pretty much working like, professional dancer, and I couldn't really drink or do any of the fun stuff that people our age do when they turn 21. So I kind of was making up for all of that times, and then eventually I applied to be a grad student and decided to go to grad school in 2020, last fall.
Yeah.
So during that time I was just studying, etc.
What's it really like so you said you wanted to make yourself like the best candidate for grad school. What does being a good candidate you're in an MBA program. So what does a good candidate for an MBA program mean? What was studying for the GMAT like tell me about like that, going back to school once you graduated, like what you needed to do to become a good candidate for the MBA program.
So the first thing that, how it is, like for everything, it's about numbers at first. So the GMAT, you have to get at least like a between maybe like a 600 to 800 score, somewhere around there to get, into like a good program. So I started taking some classes for that, like to prep for the exam. There's another thing called Magoosh, which is like another study prep that I was using as well. So I would just sit down, study. I used to study with some friends as well. We used to go to FIU, and they were all studying for the same. Some of them were studying for the GRE, and I was studying for the GMAT. But we would study together, and then take like practice exams. And then at the same time, I was trying to also find out, like, build my story, like, because I knew that going to that interview, they were gonna ask me, "What do you want to do? Why do you want to be here?" So. Which is the part of like where I was like, okay, I need to be more than just a cheerleader. So I took the job at the law firm and kind of learned a little bit about that. I still taught dance. I mean, I was like, this is still my life. I'm still gonna teach dance. And then pretty much kind of like diversified myself a little bit to be a good candidate. I think the most important thing is to be, because before it would just be like, okay, how many years have you been in a company? What was your role? Were you a manager? That's how it used to be. But yeah. I think now, because I'm younger too, the MBA program is usually for someone who's worked for at least 6 to 8 years in a managerial role. And I don't have that.
Yeah.
But I think they're changing things a little bit because they realize that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to be in a managerial role at our age for that. Like, you know, like by the time you turn like 28, they expect you to like have been like in a managerial role for that whole time. And now getting out of college, at least for me, finding anything was so hard.
A bachelor's doesn't do anything anymore. Before we go, I wanted to talk more about, you know, getting into the interview process and getting into the MBA program and what it's really like to be in that program. But what's the difference between the GMAT and the GRE?
So the GMAT is the only exam for business school. Like it's strictly just for business school.
Okay.
The GRE is an exam that you can take for whether you want to go to business school, whether you want to go to, I believe, quote me if I'm wrong. Is that what you take for law school as well?
No, we take the LSAT, but some schools are starting to accept the GRE as well.
Okay, so the GMAT is basically the LSAT, but for business school.
Okay.
The GRE is for any master's program you want to take, you take the GRE.
Okay.
So when I was choosing between the two, I was like, well, why don't I just take the GRE so I could be, you know, I can have more leeway and get in, like apply to different programs. But then I found out that the GMAT, showing that you took the GMAT shows that you're a more serious candidate for just business school. So I decided to study for that. And the GMAT is more quantitative, like more math involved, and the GRE is more qualitative. So it's more focused on reading. So I guess it also depends on what your strengths were too.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I could have done the GMAT. I'm not a math person at all. But which is why I wanted to go to law school.
I love math. So I was like, I'll take the GMAT. I hate reading.
When you know your strengths, like you said, like where your strengths lie, you knew that you would do better at the GMAT. So it makes total sense. So what did you apply to other schools than FIU? Like, you know, did you were planning to only stay in Miami? Like when you decided, okay, I'm going to do MBA, like, how did you pick a school? What was the interview process like? What is it really like to be in your MBA, and how many years is it? Like, where are you in the program?
So originally, honestly, I got into UM's MBA program during the epidemic. So it was kind of hard for me because I feel like I didn't give myself that many like options. But now that I'm in it, I don't regret not going or applying anywhere else. But my original thought was I wanted to be at New York because NYU has a great MBA that's focused on fashion and luxury, which kind of ties in everything I've been doing with like my Instagram and all of that. So I really wanted to go to that program, but it was a 1-year program and I missed the deadline that year. So I decided, let me apply to UM's program. And I knew about the program because I had a friend that had done it and she was around my age. And she was younger than me at the time. And I was like, wow, if she could have gotten into that program, maybe I have more of a chance of getting into the program. I think it's important to look at the demographics of the program as well. Like if you see that older people are the only people that they're accepting, then you know, like, okay, my experience is not enough. But I knew that the Miami program was a little bit more lenient in terms of like age and experience. So I was like, you know what, this might be more geared to me. And I had also met with the admissions counselors prior to applying, and I let them know, hey, this is my experience. This is why I want to be here. But, you know, like, which program would you guys offer me? And then they talked to me about the Miami MBA program, which is a 2-year program where they actually have career coach. They have professional development after you graduate. They have help. They are a master's program, but they still are conscious that you might not know exactly where you want to be, or you might not have the exact experience to know where you want to be once you're done with your degree. So they're more like sheltered, you know, more of a sheltered approach, holistic and very, you know, mellow in terms of like helping you get there. So that's why I chose that program. So I had spoken to them and learned about it. Go ahead.
No, I said that makes sense. I like that too, that you took the initiative to go to an admissions counselor and be like, here's what I can offer, like, help me find the program. Mm-hmm. And I would have done the same thing. And I think that's like, do you recommend people not that they have an idea, they think they want to do this, but they don't really know like which program is best for them? Like, how do you find an admissions counselor? Like, where did you find that did you just walk into that, say UM, and want to go talk to admissions? Did you talk to any other admissions counselors at other schools? Like,
So what I recommend is this. First, follow them on Instagram. Because when I went there, it wasn't like a one-on-one thing. They were having an info session at the Brickle, I forgot which building, and they were like, we're gonna be here from this time to this time. And I remember, it's funny, when I walked in there, it was like a round table full of admissions counselors. And I asked them the most tempting question, and I'm that kind of person, I'm very blunt. And I said, hey, I know you're a great school, but I went to FIU's business school, and they're a really great business school. Why should I go to your business school when you guys are twice the amount of tuition and you guys are just right next to me? What do you have to offer me? And I swear to you, every single person in that room raised their head when I asked that question. They were like, who is she and why is she asking us that question? And they had to give me a good answer. Because I told them, you guys also have similar faculties that teach at both schools. So what distinguishes you apart? So my advice would be, go in there, be yourself, be confident, not too confident, like, know what you want to ask and why you want to ask it. That question has to make sense, and follow them on Instagram. Because even NYU had like a coffee, like the program that I wanted to, they had a coffee with an MBA event thing where you could sign up for a time slot and you could have coffee with them and learn about the program. So I think that's super important, is to learn about the program before you actually just apply. First, they'll get to know who you are beforehand, so you have a leg up because they remember you. And then you get to learn whether like you actually fit the culture of the program too. Because I think that's super important. Like, I remember I was like, I really want to be in an Ivy school. But then I look back and I'm like, I could have been at an Ivy maybe if I got in and everything, but would I have immersed myself in that culture? Would I have felt comfortable? Would I felt, at home in the student body? And I never got the chance to really explore those schools, but if you have the opportunity and you can, take that route and follow them on Instagram, go to their info session. Now it's probably even easier because it's on Zoom. At the time it was before COVID, so you had to actually go in person. Do it, do all these info sessions, sign up for the newsletters, and really get to know the school prior to just accepting or applying.
No, I love that. That's such good advice. And I agree. When I have a blog post on how I chose the law school, like how to choose a law school. And then by doing that, I got to law school that I'm at now. And I think it's so important. And part of I say is like, where is it? Who goes there? What programs do they have? What can they offer you? Not just what you can offer it. And I think that's such a great tip, to go and like talk to those people and see if you really like the people that you're going to be around, because that's what your life is going to become. So how many years is UM's MBA program, and where are you at in the MBA program? And, what's it really like to be an MBA student? What does your day-to-day look like now?
Okay. So the program is a 2-year program. It's a full-time program. And that was because of my, less experience, I took the route that had the most years and the most hands-on, just because I could get a feel of what it would be like once I graduate in a professional career. So it's a 2-year program, full-time, and I really mean full-time. I have classes almost every day except for Fridays. It's super intense. I didn't know it was going to be that intense until I got there, because we have only 6 weeks for each semesters, and the first year you don't get to choose any of your classes. There are times that you have it. You just get what they pick for you. So I originally had like 4 classes in 6 weeks, and then 3 classes in 6 weeks. So it was very, very hard. But now I'm in my second year, and I love getting involved, as you guys could probably tell by now. So I decided to take charge and be involved in a few of the clubs they offer. My day-to-day is like, waking up. So the second year you have more leeway and you get to choose your schedule and pick what electives you like. So right now I'm going into finance. My electives are mostly into finance. So I have a few finance classes that I'm taking, and I'm also staying involved by being, now I'm doing the Women in Business Club. I'm the president for that. So I have a few members, and we're planning to host a few events on campus with like female entrepreneurs and female in business, female in finance and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. I honestly eat, breathe school for now. I think for the first 2 years, I mean, the whole program is you're gonna have to, eat, breed, school. But it's only 2 years, so that's what I tell myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that. Law school's the same way. You don't get to pick your first year, but your second and third year, you kind of get to build your schedule and get more involved. And so, yeah, I'm
as
glad.
well, like 6-week semesters. Do you guys do 6-week semesters as well?
No, we do the full like fall semester, spring semester. So it's 2 semesters a year. I feel like the 6 weeks is like really a lot, but I like that you brought up women in business too, because I saw that you were president of that. And I think that's really cool that those events that you guys are going to put on. I'm president of LASA here, so I'm also putting on events. And I think it's really special getting involved on campus and making the connections in the community that you want to be in. So what do you want to do like next? Like once you graduate, where do you think your career is going to take you? Are you going to I want to get more into the social media stuff in a second, but career wise, like where do you think your degree and your passions are going to take you?
This question's tough. So for now, like I am focusing on finance. Those are the classes that I'm taking. And honestly, like before I even started the classes, I was like, maybe I can do corporate finance. But it's just such a tough world with corporate finance. And it's just still now, how women and just minorities, how hard it is to break through that industry. That's still in the back of my mind. And so I'm still like, I don't know, I want to do it, but I don't know if I'm going to fit into it yet. So I decided to just do these tough classes just so I could be well-rounded, whether I do go in it or not. So my ultimate goal is to have my own business one day, and something that incorporates dance and having education, because I'm passionate about school and I love dancing. So I maybe will want to do like an aftercare thing. Like I haven't really thought about the exact business model, but that's like my ultimate goal. But I know that like I don't want to just get to that end goal after I graduate. I want to, work at a company that I, learn more. So I think definitely it's either going to be whether it's in finance, like a role that's quantitative in terms of like maybe, a finance firm like Goldman Sachs or, JP Morgan, or maybe like something more like Amazon, where like a company that's more or less has a little bit of all, so that maybe they could find a role that fits me best in their company. So right now I'm really looking into a corporate job, whether it's finance or something where they have full round of different opportunities and where I match. So right now I'm just applying everywhere so that my goal is to have like a job by the time I graduate in May and, secure a full-time job.
No, I agree. I think it's good to go somewhere where you can get a well-rounded experience and learn a lot of different things and then pick and choose. And then, the ultimate goal, to be an entrepreneur and have your own business, which you kind of do because you're on social media. So you said that your social media really built up as part of Dolphins Cheer, but now that you're not doing that anymore, where has social media taken you? Obviously that's how we met. And, but what's next for you on social media? What does that look like for you?
I'm glad you asked that question, Kayla, because I've been having trouble balancing both social media and school. I feel like I've been going back and forth between, should I just delete my Instagram for now so I can focus on school? And then I look at it and I'm like, but that's who I am. And I think I've been having a little bit of identity issues with that, because I feel like I want to be this serious business person. And I'm like, social media, I don't want to be, because I had some teachers talk about how like, your social media affects you when you apply, the way you show yourself. And it's like, I was like another person when I was in social media. I would post a lot of bikini shots and that was the brand I was, focusing on when I was a cheerleader. And now it's like, I want to be this serious businesswoman. So that's been kind of tough for me to like, even see it as, like you said, like you are an entrepreneur in that aspect. I think I'm happy you said that, because it kind of reminds me like, yeah, this is something, this could be a career, because that's in business school, they don't talk about it. And they make it seem like they talk about it in terms of like a big brand, like working for like, managing a brand for a company, but not your brand. So I think I'm glad you brought that up, because it reminds me that maybe this is something, and you notice that, I'm doing something on it.
No,
So
and
I really appreciate.
yeah, of course. I feel the same way about it as like in law school. Like I struggled with, I started my blog and then I was like, I'm going to talk about law school on here because I don't see people talking about it enough. And then I struggled with like, do I make my blog just law school, or do I make a total Instagram just for law school tips and tricks, or do I bring that into my content? And I realized like I didn't want to build a brand off of just law school because it's only 3 years. Eventually I won't be in law school anymore. And then I built up this whole brand, and then it's not like that's only such a small part of me. And like if I only talk about law school, I'm ignoring a big part of myself. But if I only talk about everything else and don't talk about school at all, then I'm also ignoring a big part of what I do every day. So I think it's a hard like dichotomy. Like I think, yeah, I feel you on that you want to be taken seriously as a businesswoman. I want to be taken seriously as a law student and eventually a lawyer, but also we were talking about this earlier, like knowing where your strengths lie and that you can be both, and that it's okay to want to do both, and it doesn't matter what people are saying, because right now, like the industry, the world is changing so much, and the industries, everything is shifting to online marketing and social media and like influencers, and we're getting to build our individual brands by being content creators, but we're also going to school and we're seeing both sides of it. And I personally want to combine the two, and I want to be a lawyer and be a social media personality and find a way to use my law degree in social media. And everything that you're learning in business school helps you in your business, and what you've learned in your business helps you in business school in the same way. It's your experience that shaped who you are. So I mean, I definitely think it is really hard to figure out who you are and be taken seriously in both ways, but I think it's really special to have both because they go hand in hand in a way, and who cares what people think personally.
Right. I agree.
And then another thing you talk a lot about, which is something that I really found like special, was your female friendships. And I think it goes a lot towards everything that we've been talking about, the bonds you make growing up as a dancer, and the teams and like the community that you build online, like female friendships and just friendships in general, like at our age, like how important are they to you? What does that mean to you?
So another hard question for me.
I love hard hitting questions. This is so fun for me.
You're asking me all the hard questions today, but I love it. So I think that's something that I really struggled with again. And I think it comes hand in hand with the identity and the Miami Dolphins idea of things. So when I was there, I had I had these girls as my friends. I think you kind of get sucked into that environment when you're in teams. Like you only certainly become friends with the people that you're around. And then it's kind of like when you're in high school and you're friends with everybody in high school, and then you graduate and then you don't see them anymore. So it was the same thing. I was super close to the girls, and they were my only friends at the time where I would spend time with. And then I kind of left. So then they started having, events with each other, but I wasn't there anymore, So yeah, I would see them sometimes when they would do like, birthdays and stuff like that. But it wasn't, we weren't seeing each other every day anymore. So I kind of had to, like you said, reinvent myself. So, I mean, I'm just a person who's always had like a lot of friends around me. But the thing is, I realized later on that having friends around you aren't really friends, So I think I've gone through a lot of that in my adult life, is figuring out who's really my friend and who's really just my friend for the moment or for the highlight of my life at that time. And now I can say that I don't really have a lot of real friends, but I think I'm happy that I'm starting to realize who are my real friends and who are just friends that I want to have a good time with. And so I can say that like my cousins, like I'm very family oriented. My cousins are the people that like I cherish as like my true friends. I can tell them anything. I can call them whenever I want. And then I have like different social friends. Like I would have cheerleaders when I want to hang out with some cheerleaders or dancers. I have like my FIU dancer friends, my cheer friends, and we just have a good time,
Yeah.
I can I don't really have a set relationship with any of them where it's like they're my best friend, but I still have them there. Like they're not, nonetheless, they're still friends. And like yourself, like I'm like, I actually really like Kayla. So like I'm thinking maybe we can have lunch together and build on our friendships. It's definitely been hard because I realized that making friends is just not easy. And before it used to seem easy for me because I spent so much time with them. So it came easy. But once I wasn't in that anymore, I realized that for you to sustain a friendship, like you have to take time, go on, lunch dates, get to know them on a deeper level. And it just doesn't happen overnight,
I think it's so hard. And it's so true what you say. Like, I have my law school friends while I'm in school, my classmates, I'm hanging out with them tonight and I see them pretty much every day, but who knows what'll happen when we graduate and we're all doing different things. And high school and college, like you have like friends for the moment, and the ones that are really with you through thick and thin and like through years, like life changes and stuff, like you have to cultivate that. And it's hard. It's really hard to do. But I think it's also really cool when you realize like you can have a big group of friends, but doesn't mean that they're all your best friends. Like not every person in your life has to be or is your best friend, but you can have multiple friends. You don't have to just have like a tight circle and not talk to anybody else. And I think that's the cool part about social media is that like each of us have our core like people, but we have like all of us are IG friends. We go to events together, we go to brunches together, we do stuff together, we shoot together. We're still friends, but like, yeah, they have their best friends and you have yours. And, I think it's really hard to make best friends as an adult, but if you're social and you want to make friends and you want to put yourself out there, it's actually kind of easy to make friends. It's just, you have to know that they're not like your best friends. Cause and I think the word best friend gets overused way too often now. And I'm guilty of it. I think we're all guilty of it, but we just need to be more mindful of like who are our true like ride or dies versus just like friends for the moment, or good friends, but not necessarily like your best friend.
Exactly. And like exactly what you said, like for now, like I, in grad school, I have my best friend now,
Yeah. Your grad school best friend. Yeah. Like I have my law school best friend too. Like it happens.
But definitely, like you said, I think also to piggyback on what you're saying too, is that once you get like our age, you realize that everybody already has their circle from when they were young or whatever it is. Then you enter their world too, and they have their like hardcore friends too. So I mean, it's definitely hard. It's hard, but it's easy, like you said, because if you think about it, I have a lot of friends, and like you said, it's if I wanted to, I can just like text you and be like, hey, let's do brunch. Like it's really not that hard to like make a social outing with any of the people on Instagram that we have.
Yeah.
It's just trying to see who you really vibe with and creating that stronger connection. It's just gonna take work, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. And also like it ebbs and flows. Like you can be really close to someone for a few months and then you're not as close with them, but I mean, you're not friends anymore. It's just like you guys like fade in and out of your lives, whatever is happening in your lives. And, I think like there's like this like culture of like, like if you don't talk to them every day, they're not your true friend. And like, that's not true. Like, I think the truest friends, like you don't have to talk to or see them every day, every week, every month, but they're still your ride or dies. Like doesn't just how much quality over quantity doesn't mean not just the amount, but also how much you like interact with them. Like, I think, but also the good thing about having a lot of friends is like dating and like going out and like there's so much more opportunity to do things and diversifying your friend group and like diversifying your interests and hobbies, and like life's never boring. And I always say like the best part about living in Miami and the part that I want to go back to so much, like the reason I want to go back so much is not just the culture, although that's very important too, but also the options. There's always something to do, someone to see, somewhere to be.
That's true.
Because you just, hey, how are you? Want to get a drink? Like, let's go to dinner. Let's do this. Like, this place just open. Let's go there. But if you don't want to do anything at all, and like you don't want to talk to anybody, like no one's getting me off the couch. But like, if I don't want to be home alone that day, I don't have to be. There's no reason to be. And I think I love having options. And so that's the beauty about having a lot of friends and like people, and also it's networking, it's connections, and you never know like where that person you met at the bar randomly, like, can get you a job, get you a boyfriend, get you a friend, get you whoever later on in life. So I think that's the beauty about social media too. And just being at this stage of our life where we're out and we're social and we're meeting a million people. Like this is the time where we meet the most amount of people in our lives, like, and not just for dating purposes, although for that too. But I'm so happy. Like, I knew this conversation was going to go there, but like, I'm really happy it went there even more because we talk about a lot of stuff that people don't really talk about. And like the dark side of, Miami Miami Dolphins and like cheerleading and like being around like a lot of girls all the time and, struggles with identity and mental health and friendship. I think this was such an amazing conversation. I'm so happy we got to do this. And yes, next time I'm home for longer than like 2 days, we'll go get drinks or lunch or coffee or whatever and chat. I'm so happy we met and I'm really glad we had this conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. I had no idea. We have so much in common as well. Like, I think this kind of showed us how much we have in common.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited. I'm so happy you had me on, and this felt really easy to talk.
I'm glad that it was easy. The reason I titled it Let's Get Candid which is what we did, is I want to just have conversations with people and with my friends, build friendships, build connections, introduce people to each other, network, and just really like talk about the things that people are too afraid to talk about, that you only talk about with your friends. But when it's like not interview style and it's just a conversation, you're a lot more willing to get like deeper and talk about these things, and it's comfortable. And like, so I'm really glad that you felt comfortable with me sharing that. And I hope that whoever's listening, like, get something out of this. I know I did. I know you did. Something so special. So yes, next time we're both in town at the same time, we will catch up. And I'm really excited for you. Congrats on almost graduating, and good luck in whatever you do next. Can't wait to see it. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much, Kayla. Thank you for having me on. And I'm so happy that you're doing this as well. So congrats to you too. And I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing as well.
Thank you.
I am so sorry about the amount of times that I said special in this episode. I'm going to say it again. It was so special to have such a deep conversation with someone that I was just getting to know. I had only briefly met her at the Tiki's event over the summer, and then we really got to know each other having this conversation, and it went far deeper than what I think either of us had planned. And I'm really grateful that it did, because there's so many things that we talk about here that I think are so important. And I know I said that already in this episode, but really glad that I get to share that with you guys. So if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to give a follow to Amina at Amina Daoud. I will link her Instagram in the show notes. Follow up the Let's Get Candid podcast, leave a rating and review, screenshot and share as you listen, and tag us. It's the best way to grow the show. And thank you so much for 10 episodes. I can't believe we're already at 10 episodes, and I've been doing this for almost 2 months now, and it's really crazy, and it feels like this was just something I was meant to do, and it feels so right. So I'll let you go because it's getting really long, but I hope you all have a happy Thursday or whatever day of the week it is that you're listening, and I'll talk to you guys next week.